Lesson 1, Love Transcends Boundaries. Jack and Rose met by chance, or perhaps destiny had planned it all along. He was a third-class passenger, full of life but poor in fortune. She was first-class, polished, proper, and drowning in expectations. When Jack saw her on the deck, standing at the edge, ready to let go of her life, he didn't see a wealthy girl. He saw a soul in pain. And when he reached out to her, with trembling sincerity, he crossed more than just a railing. He crossed the invisible wall society had built between them. In that moment, love wasn't about class, or elegance, or background. It was about two hearts recognizing each other in a world that rarely understood them. True love doesn't care who you are or where you come from. It doesn't care about your bank account, your accent, or your status. Love only asks one thing: can I be safe in your heart? We see this mistake today too often. We measure love by material things, by lifestyle, by family approval, by how others perceive the relationship. Yet love, real love, thrives when two people dare to look beyond appearances. Jack didn't fall for Rose's diamonds, he fell for her soul. Rose didn't love Jack's poverty, she loved his freedom, his courage, his laughter, things her world had long forgotten. When two souls connect, barriers vanish. And that's the first lesson the Titanic teaches us, that love can exist anywhere, between anyone, at any moment, if we let our hearts open. Lesson 2, Communication builds connection. The next day after they met, they talked. Really talked. They laughed like old friends, even though they had only known each other for hours. Jack listened when Rose spoke, not just with his ears, but with his heart. He didn't interrupt, didn't try to impress. He simply saw her. Rose, for the first time in years, felt heard. In a world where her mother's words were commands and her fiancé's words were insults, Jack's voice was a gentle truth. Communication is more than speaking. It's understanding the silence between words. It's the way we look at someone when they're hurting and say, "I'm here." In modern love, we often forget this. We text instead of talk. We scroll instead of look. We listen to reply instead of to understand. But love dies quietly when communication fades. Jack and Rose didn't have long conversations about the future, they had deep ones about the present. About art, freedom, laughter, and what it meant to be alive. That's why their connection grew so fast, it was honest. And honesty builds the bridge that every strong relationship stands on. When you talk to your partner, don't talk to win. Talk to connect. When you listen, don't listen to judge. Listen to understand. Because sometimes, one honest conversation can save a love that 1,000 gifts never could. Lesson 3, Vulnerability creates intimacy. One evening, when Rose sat with Jack as he drew her portrait, something powerful happened. She wasn't just taking off her jewelry or her gown. She was taking off the mask she had worn for years. Jack saw her completely, not as society's perfect lady, but as a human being with fears, dreams, and desires. That sketch was more than art, it was vulnerability made visible. Love is not built on perfection, it's built on openness. To love is to be seen, in your beauty and in your brokenness. In that room, Rose found courage. And Jack, though silent, treated her vulnerability with reverence, not judgment. That's what intimacy truly means, when your heart feels safe enough to be bare. In today's world, we're often afraid of being too open. We hide behind smiles, filters, and pride. But love isn't about hiding. Love is about saying, "This is me, my scars, my insecurities, my hopes, and I trust you enough to hold them." Vulnerability is where love breathes. And the Titanic reminds us that the deepest intimacy doesn't happen in the grand moments, it happens in quiet rooms, when one person finally lets another in. Lesson 4. Learn to support your partner's freedom. Jack never tried to change Rose. He didn't tell her what to do, how to behave, or who to be. He simply encouraged her to live, truly live. He told her, "You jump, I jump." It wasn't a promise of control, but of companionship. He didn't want to possess her, he wanted to see her free. That's real love. Too often, relationships become cages disguised as comfort. We start controlling out of fear of losing the person we love. But the more you try to cage love, the faster it fades. Jack understood that love isn't ownership. It's freedom, the freedom to be yourself, to grow, to dream, and to explore. He didn't love Rose for what she was expected to be, he loved her for what she could be. And when she finally spread her arms on the ship's bow, eyes closed, the wind rushing through her hair, that was freedom. That was love. In your relationship, remember this. If your love doesn't make both of you freer, it isn't love, it's fear. Lesson 5. Love requires courage. Love is easy to imagine, but hard to live. Jack and Rose's love wasn't convenient, it was costly. Every glance they shared was an act of defiance. Every touch was a risk. She was engaged to a man her mother approved of, rich, powerful, and cruel. He was the kind of man the world ignored, free, artistic, and poor. But when Rose chose to meet Jack again, she didn't just choose him, she chose courage. She stepped into a love that could ruin her reputation, but save her soul. That's what love sometimes asks of us, courage. The courage to follow your heart even when your head warns you of the storm ahead. Jack knew the world would never see them as equals. But he also knew love isn't measured by public approval, it's measured by private truth. Love that never costs you anything isn't real love. Because love is about showing up when it's hardest. It's about holding on when everything else tells you to let go. In modern relationships, courage still matters. It takes courage to forgive when you've been hurt. Courage to stay when things get hard. Courage to be loyal when the world glorifies convenience. When Jack told Rose, "They've got you trapped, Rose, and you're gonna die if you don't break free," he wasn't just talking about her family, he was talking about life itself. Love without courage dies behind the walls of comfort. So if you love someone, truly love them, have the courage to fight for it. Even if the world laughs. Even if you fail. Because courage is what separates a fleeting feeling from a forever love. Lesson 6. Cherish every moment. For Jack and Rose, time was cruel. Their love existed in borrowed hours, days that slipped by like water through open hands. But they didn't waste a second. They danced in the third-class deck, barefoot and wild, as music filled the air. They laughed without permission, kissed without fear, and lived as if tomorrow didn't exist, because, for them, it truly didn't. And that's the beauty of it. They didn't need forever to make their love timeless. In our world today, people spend years together but forget to actually be together. We sit beside each other but stare at screens. We share homes but not hearts. We say, "I love you," but forget to show it. Jack and Rose remind us that love isn't measured in years, it's measured in presence. Every touch, every glance, every quiet smile has meaning when you know how fragile time is. They didn't know their love would end in tragedy, but they lived it like it would never end. You don't need a ship to sink to realize time is precious. You just need to look at the person you love and remember, this moment is your forever. So hold their hand longer. Say the words you've been saving. Laugh, dance, talk, forgive, because tomorrow is never promised. When Jack told Rose, "Make each day count," he wasn't giving advice, he was giving truth. And that truth still speaks. Love grows not in the years you share, but in the moments you treasure. Lesson 7. Sacrifice is the heart of love. When the Titanic began to sink, panic filled the air. Water flooded corridors, screams echoed, and chaos ruled. Yet, amid the terror, Jack's heart stayed calm, not because he wasn't afraid, but because his love for Rose gave him purpose. He fought through freezing water, guided her to safety, and never once thought of saving himself first. When he placed her on that wooden board, he wasn't giving up. He was giving everything. "Promise me you'll survive," he said. "That you'll never give up." Those words weren't a goodbye, they were a gift. Love, in its purest form, is sacrificial. It gives without expecting, protects without pride, and lets go when holding on would hurt more. Jack didn't save Rose because he wanted to be remembered. He did it because that's what real love does. It sacrifices quietly, selflessly, completely. Today, we often confuse love with possession. We want to be loved, but we rarely want to give up comfort, time, or ego. But love isn't about what you get, it's about what you're willing to give. Sometimes love asks for silence when you want to shout. Sometimes it asks for patience when you want answers. Sometimes it even asks you to walk away, just to let the other person heal. When Jack let go, it wasn't weakness, it was love's highest expression. Because real love would rather die giving than live taking. So when you love, love with that depth. Love with the kind of heart that puts the other's joy above your own. That's the kind of love that doesn't sink, even when everything else does. Lesson 8. Don't let society choose for you. Rose lived in a golden cage. Everything around her sparkled, diamonds, chandeliers, endless gowns, but inside, she was drowning. Her mother had shaped her destiny with fear. "We're women, Rose. Our choices are limited." Her fiancé, Cal, wasn't a partner, he was a purchase. To the world, they were perfection. To Rose, it was a slow death. Then came Jack, a reminder that love could be simple, honest, uncalculated. He showed her that happiness isn't about wealth, but about peace. How many people today live that same story? Marrying for appearances. Staying in relationships for security. Smiling for the world, crying in private. We let society decide who is good enough. What love should look like. And what we must sacrifice for comfort. But Rose's greatest act of love wasn't falling for Jack, it was choosing herself. Choosing freedom over expectation. Choosing truth over image. That's the hardest choice in love. To walk away from what everyone applauds, toward what your soul actually needs. Real love cannot breathe in pretense. It doesn't live in what looks right, it lives in what feels right. When Rose refused to get back into Cal's boat, when she chose to face the icy unknown just to stay true to her heart, that was more than rebellion. That was rebirth. So don't let society write your love story. Don't let fear choose your forever. Love someone because they bring you peace, not because they bring you prestige. Because when the storms of life come, it won't be your reputation that keeps you warm, it'll be the arms of the one who loves you, not the world around you. Lesson 9. Keep the passion alive. Passion isn't about luxury, it's about connection. The night Jack and Rose made love wasn't about scandal, it was about freedom. They weren't escaping duty, they were embracing life. That scene wasn't about lust, it was about being seen, touched, and loved for the first time without fear or judgment. In that locked car, on a ship destined to sink, they found eternity in a single heartbeat. That's passion, the kind that burns not just in your body, but in your soul. Over time, many relationships lose that spark. Routine replaces wonder. Comfort replaces curiosity. Love becomes quiet, sometimes too quiet. But passion isn't something you find once, it's something you keep creating. It's choosing to look at your partner like it's the first time. To flirt again, to laugh again, to touch with intention. Jack made Rose feel alive because he saw her, every day, every moment, as something miraculous. And that's what we all need, not someone new, but someone who keeps seeing us like we're new. Passion doesn't die naturally. It dies from neglect. Keep feeding it, with adventure, with attention, with laughter. And remember, the best kind of passion isn't wild, it's consistent. It's the warmth that doesn't fade after the fire. Lesson 10, True Love Lives Forever. Time passed. The ship sank. But love didn't. Years later, Rose grew old. The world forgot her story, but her heart never did. She kept the memory, not as pain, but as gratitude. When she stood at the edge of that ship once more and let the heart of the ocean fall into the sea, she wasn't letting go of Jack. She was setting his love free, back where it began. That's the truth about real love. It doesn't end when someone leaves. It changes shape. It becomes memory, strength, legacy. True love doesn't always mean forever together. Sometimes it means forever changed. Jack gave Rose more than affection, he gave her a reason to live. He taught her to dream, to paint, to laugh, to never forget herself. And she did. She lived a long, beautiful life, not in grief, but in gratitude. Because real love doesn't break you. It builds you. When love is true, it becomes part of you, a heartbeat that echoes through every choice you make, every joy you feel, every sunset you watch. So even when the person is gone, the love remains, in the way you smile, in the way you forgive, in the way you hope again. True love doesn't die. It simply learns to live differently. Love like Jack. Fearlessly. Deeply. Without holding back. Because love, real love, doesn't wait for perfect timing, it just loves anyway. If this story touched your heart, don't just click away. Hit that like button to keep love alive. Share this video with someone who still believes in true love. And tell me in the comments, which of Jack's lessons spoke to your heart the most. There are still hearts like Jack's out there. And together, we can remind the world that real love never sinks. Subscribe now, and let's keep telling stories that make the heart remember.